Hey friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am so excited that you decided to join me for another day of bookmas. We are making our way through the month of December through bookmas and I'm just having fun. This is fun. I like doing this. And so today we will be talking about some winter releases that I think you should know about. And so when I say winter, I am referring to December, January, and February. So we'll be talking through some of the releases that I think you should know about. Some are my most anticipated of 2025. And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk about all the new books that are going to be coming out. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Alrighty, y'all know the drill. So I will be having the synopses pulled up on my laptop and we will be talking through them. Okay, so first off, I want to start off by talking about the December 2024 releases that will be coming out. And the first one is Not in My Book by Katie Holt. And this is described as the hating game meets beach read. Rosie, an idealistic and passionate Peruvian American who has grown up without strong ties to her culture, leaves her Tennessee hometown to pursue her dream of making it in New York as a writer. But her plan is derailed when she ends up in class with her arch nemesis and ex-crush, Aiden Huntington, an obnoxious, surly, and gorgeous literary fiction writer who doesn't have much patience for the romance genre or for Rosie. Rosie and Aiden regularly go to verbal battle and workshop until the professor reaches her breaking point. She allows them to stay in her class on one condition: they must co-write a novel that blends their genres. The reluctant writing duo can't help but put pieces of themselves into their accidentally steamy novel, and as they slowly get to know each other, they try to put their differences aside. Meanwhile, their manuscript and process provides an outlet for them to confess their feelings and explore their attraction to one another. When Rosie and Aiden find themselves competing against each other for a potentially career-changing opportunity, the flames of old rivalry reignite, and their once-in-a-lifetime love story is once again at risk of being shelved, unless they can find a way to end the book on their own terms. Next, we have The Shutouts by Gabrielle Korn, and this is a brilliant queer dystopian novel. The year is 2041, and it's a dangerous time to be a woman driving across the United States alone. Deadly storms and uncontrollable wildfires are pummeling the country while political tensions are rising. Sounds like 2024, if you ask me. But Kelly's on the road anyway. She desperately needs to get back to her daughter, who she left 7 years ago for a cause that she no longer is sure she believes in. Almost 40 years later, another mother, Ava, and her daughter Brooke are on the run as well from the climate change relief program known as the Inside Project, where they've spent the past 22 years being treated as lab rats. When they encounter a woman from Ava's past on the side of the highway, the three continue on a journey that will take them into the depths of what remains of humanity out in the wilderness. At the same time, way up north, weather conditions continue to worsen and a settlement departs in search of greener pastures, leaving behind only two members, drawn together by a circumstance and a mystery they are destined to unravel together. Set in the world of Gabrielle Korn's Yours for the Taking, The Shutouts tells the captivating story of those who have been shut out from inside, their fight to survive, and an interconnectedness larger than all of them. Moving on to the last one by Rachel Howzell Hall, and this is an explosive and enthralling romantasy debut. Okay, so thrown into a desolate land of sickness and unnatural beasts, Kai wakes in the woods with no idea who she is or how she got there. All she knows is that if she cannot reach the Sea of Devour, even this hellscape will get worse. But when she sees the village blacksmith fight invaders with unspeakable skill, she decides to accept his offer for help. Too bad he's as skilled at annoying her as he is at fighting. As she searches for answers, Kai only finds more questions, especially regarding the blacksmith who can ignite her body like a flame, then douse it with ice in the next breath. And no one is what or who they appear to be in the kingdom of Vimefordith, including a man whose secrets might be as deadly as the land itself. Super excited about this. It's a romantasy coming from a Black author, and you know we love those on this channel. Next is Stuck in the Country with You by Zuri Day. And it says she's packing her bags and her baggage. 10 years ago, Genesis Washington made a very poor decision. At the time, it seemed great, fantastic, explosive. But the truth is, your one night rebound should never be your younger brother's rival. And he definitely shouldn't be someone who allegedly only slept with you to gain the upper hand, even if the sex was amazing. Now Genesis is blindsided when the farm she's inherited just happens to be right next door to Jackson King, the regrettable one night stand she's still painfully attracted to. This man has aged like the finest of wines, and what's worse, he's now a thoughtful and responsible father. Good thing Genesis has a long distance boyfriend. Well, sort of. It's complicated. Jackson in his hotness should be easy enough to ignore, but when city girl Genesis discovers there's a serious learning curve to her humble new home, it's Jackson who's there to lend a very skilled helping hand. With every problem that arises, Jackson is seemingly making all the right moves, both on the farm and when things heat up behind closed doors. But surely that doesn't mean he's right for Genesis, does it? Then we have The Blessed by Anne Shade, and this follows Suri Daniels, a beautiful and troubled woman, is the descendant of a family of supernaturally gifted women known as the Blessed, and literally holds keys to gateways between the earthly plane and 7 powerful gods. A series of tragic losses and a stipulation in her mother's will has her returning to the family's home in New Orleans, unaware that she will need to step into the role of Orisha priestess and escape the attention of a powerful demon. To top it all off, she must accept the help of a cambion, Lila Jeffries, a dark, supernatural being she has spent her life avoiding. What's worse, she can't help being drawn to Layla in ways she doesn't understand. Being the love child of a top-tier demon and a human isn't all it's cracked up to be. For the past 200 years, Layla Jeffries has lived a life of quietude. When an unknown force draws her out of seclusion, the pull is too strong to ignore. Layla is tasked to assist with protecting the gateways and saving Suri from becoming a vengeful demon's avatar. Falling in love with her is definitely not part of the plan. Layla and Suri are brought together by fate to defeat the darkness threatening to tear their world apart. What they don't expect is to discover a love that might seem to set them free. And look at this cover. This cover is gorgeous, beautiful. Like, yeah. And the last December release that I would like to talk about is Beautiful Broken Love, and this is by Shanora Williams. And this says, it's been months since her dreams of forever were brutally shattered. 7 long months since her husband and soulmate, Lou, died in her arms, leaving her to carry on, alone. And Davina Klein Roberts still isn't sure how to move on. To escape her anguish, Davina throws everything into work, pushing Golden Oil Co., her self-built skincare line, to become a viral success. Now she's poised to clinch a major endorsement deal too, but it's bittersweet without Lou by her side. A meeting with, is it Deke Bishop? The hot NBA star she's courting for her brand leaves Davina flustered. With his dimpled smile and warm handshake, Deke's a natural pitchman, and he's clearly interested not only in her lotions. Davina soon discovers that Deke's more than just another player and carries his own pain. But as her feelings for him grow, so does her guilt. Will the pain of a future already lost keep her from embracing hope for a new one? Now let us move into the January 2025 releases that I think you should know about. First up is the Starlight Heir by Amalie Howard. And this says, let's see, a bladesmith with the power of the stars in her blood and a prince with a dangerous secret will fight to save their kingdom in this spicy and spellbinding romantasy inspired by Persian and Indian mythology. When the gold-dusted court invitation arrives at Soraya's forge, she believes it's a joke. Nobles might seek her skills as a bladesmith, one of few who can imbue her work with precious jadoo, the last source of magic in the realm, but she has no qualifications as a potential bride for the crown prince. Still, the invitation is the chance at adventure and the means to finally visit the capital city her late mother loved. But what awaits her in Caldari is nothing she could have imagined and fraught with danger. It's not the crown prince, but his impossibly handsome, illegitimate half-brother Roshan who draws her interest in her Heir. The invitation isn't a quest to find a suitable bride, but a veiled hunt for the Starbringer, a girl rumored to hold the magic of the stars in her blood. And across the city, unrest is brewing between the noble houses and the rebel militia. When the rebels carry out a brutal strike, Soraya and Roshan find themselves on the run, trying to deny their simmering attraction and the knowledge that Soraya herself might be the Starbringer. But Roshan is hiding secrets of his own, and with no control of the power that seems to be stirring within her, Soraya has drawn the attention of the old gods themselves, and the interest of one dark god in particular might be the biggest threat of all. Moving on to one of my most anticipated of 2025, and that is Gifted and Talented by Olivie Blake. And this is the story of three siblings who, upon the death of their father, are forced to reckon with their long festering rivalries, dangerous abilities, and the crushing weight of all of their unrealized adolescent potential. Thayer Wren, the brilliant CEO of Renfair Magitech and so-called father of modern technology, is dead. Any of his three telepathically and electrokinetically gifted children would be a possible inheritor for the Renfair throne, or at least so they like to think. Meredith, textbook accomplished eldest daughter and the head of her own groundbreaking biotech company, has recently cured mental illness. You're welcome. If only her father's fortune wasn't her last hope for keeping her journalist ex-boyfriend from exposing what she really is, a total fraud. Arthur, second youngest congressman in history, fights the good fight every day of his life, and yet his wife might be leaving him and he's losing his re-election campaign. But his dead father's approval in the form of a seat on the Renfair throne might just turn his sinking ship around. Ailey, once the world's most famous ballerina, has spent the last 5 years as a run-of-the-mill marketing executive at her father's company after a life-altering injury put an end to her career. She might be lacking in accolades compared to her siblings, but if her father left her everything, it would finally validate her worth by confirming she'd been his favorite all along. On the pipeline of gifted kid to clinically depressed adult, nobody wins, but which Wren will come out on top? And facts about the pipeline, because there's a pipeline. Built. We have a Temptress of Fire and Fury by Scarlett St. Clair, and I'm guessing this is what she's going into after the Hades and Persephone saga, since it's over. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was given to Hephaestus in marriage. She has long admired the god of fire for his quiet nature and his brilliant mind. But Hephaestus is not interested in marriage, and after one passionate night together, he releases Aphrodite from any expectations of fidelity. For centuries, the rejection leaves Aphrodite uncertain and shaken in her purpose. As a distraction, she strikes bargains to prove that true love does not exist, except that everyone around her seems to be finding their soulmate. Determined to confirm her beliefs, Aphrodite accepts a new bargain. But this agreement is not like the others, and soon she discovers that she must fulfill the terms. Worse, failing could mean losing the only chance she ever had at love. Moving on to Flirting with Disaster by Naina Kumar. And this is a reimagining of Sweet Home Alabama. And the way we loved that movie growing up, like it was one of my mom's favorite movies. And so it quickly became one of my favorite movies. Like I had to get this. I had to. It's been years since Mina has seen her husband, Nikhil. Years since they first laid eyes on each other back home in Texas. Years since they eloped in Vegas, and she felt true happiness. A high-powered lawyer on Capitol Hill, ready to move on, or at least she thinks so, with another successful lawyer shake, Mina has returned home, this time finally to obtain a divorce. Now look, I don't know if I can get his name being Shake, because if you watch Love is Blind, then you know. And He ruined that name for me. But there's one thing Mina couldn't have accounted for: a hurricane forming in the Gulf, veering right toward them, giving them no choice but to hunker down in the home they had built together. Suddenly, she finds herself trapped amid gale force winds and pelting rain with the man she once loved. As they spend more time together, Mina begins to remember everything that drew her to Nikhil: his small town charm, his thoughtful nature, his absurdly good looks. But things make sense with Sheikh. He is steady and ambitious and wants exactly what she wants. She'll stick to her plan come hell or high water. But will her windswept heart make the right choice when the storm settles and the eye passes over? With sharp observations about second chances at love, ambition, and Indian American identity, and with characters who share an undeniable chemistry, Flirting with Disaster is a modern romance with the sensibility of a classic. Now, y'all know how I feel about second chance romances, but this one sounds good. And I honestly didn't even realize until just now that Sweet Home Alabama is a second chance romance. What was I thinking? I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I'm going to give it a shot. Next is The Relationship Mechanic by Karmen Lee. And this says there's no fix for a lonely heart like a little TLC. Jessica came to Peach Blossom, Georgia for a visit, not a breakdown. But when her rental car breaks down on the outskirts of town, mechanic Vinny provides a tow and a very welcome jumpstart to Jessica's heart. It's been a minute since Jessica's last fling, her relationship specialty, and Vinny checks all the right boxes. If only the sexy car whisperer seemed interested. Vinny knows herself and what she wants. She loves her job, her family, her hometown, but she'd love to fall in love. Jessica stirs up all the right feelings, but the city girl has no intention of staying in Peach Blossom. Why sign up for a broken heart? But the temptation is real as Vinny goes out of her way to drive a carless Jessica around town. The pair can't seem to keep their distance or their hands to themselves. With only 6 weeks to figure out where their red-hot chemistry might lead, Vinny and Jessica will have to decide if home can be where the heart is when the heart only knows how to run. Then we have Needy Little Things by Chanel Desamores. And this is a speculative YA mystery where a black teen with premonition-like powers must solve her friend's disappearance before she finds herself in the same danger. And we're following Soraya, who can hear what people need, tangible things like a pencil, a hair tie, a phone charger, an ability only her family and her best friend Malcolm know the truth about. But when she fulfills a need for her friend Deja, who vanishes shortly after, Soraya is left wondering if her ability is more curse than gift. This isn't the first time one of her friends has landed on the missing persons list, and she is determined not to let her become yet another forgotten black girl. Not trusting the police and the media to do enough on their own, Soraya and her friends work together to figure out what led to Deja's disappearance. But when Soraya's mother loses her job and her little brother faces complications with his sickle cell disease, managing her time, money, and emotions seems impossible. Desperate, Soraya decides to hustle her need-sensing ability for cash, a choice that might not only lead her to Deja, but put her in the same danger Deja found herself in. And this sounds really cool. Next is Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, and it says, when 10-year-old Abby heard the gunshot, time stopped, and when she saw her brother Baz lying on the floor surrounded by the scattered pieces of a centuries-old jar, life as Abby knew it shattered as well. The crime was never solved, and because the Freemans were one of the only black families in a particularly well-to-do enclave of New England, the case has had an enduring voyeuristic pull for the public. The last thing the Freemans want is another media frenzy splashing their family across the papers. But when Abby's high-profile romance falls apart without any explanation, that's exactly what they get. So Abby flees to France only for her past to follow her there. And as she tries to process what's happened, she begins to think about the other loss her family suffered on that day 18 years ago. The stoneware jar that had been in her family for generations, brought north by an enslaved ancestor. But little does she know that the handcrafted piece of pottery held more than just her family's history. It might also hold the key to unlocking her future. Next is Death of the Author by Nadia Korafor. And it says, life has thrown Zelu some curveballs over the years. But when she's suddenly dropped from her university job and her latest novel is rejected, all in the middle of her sister's wedding, her life is upended. Disabled, unemployed, and from a nosy, high achieving, judgmental family, she's not sure what comes next. In her hotel room that night, she takes the risk that will define her life. She decides to write a book very unlike her others, a science fiction drama about androids and AI after the extinction of humanity, and everything changes. What follows is a tale of love and lost, fame and infamy, of extraordinary events in one world and another. And as Zilu's life evolves, the lines between fiction and reality begin to blur, because sometimes a story really does have the power to reshape a world. I Think They Love You by Julian Winters. Sometimes fake dating your ex can turn into a second chance. Another second chance romance. When Den's Carter's workaholic father and the CEO of 24 Carter Gold unexpectedly announces his retirement, the competition is on for who will become his successor. To convince his judgmental family members that Denz is capable of commitment, he impulsively lies about being in a serious relationship. Problem is, the last serious relationship he was in hung him high and dry after leaving the continent. Now Denz needs to find a fake boyfriend to bring to family functions and seal the deal on the CEO position. To do so, he enlists the help of his best friend and roommate Jamie, someone his family already accepts in their inner circle. But when his BFF is a no-show, Denz is forced to turn to the last person he wants to be in a pretend or any relationship, Braylon, the man who broke his heart. Braylon's sudden reappearance in Denz's life turns everything upside down, but apparently he needs Denz's connections to the mayor to win his own promotion, and Denz is currently up a creek without a paddle. So they strike a deal. It's all business, but between the funny texts and the confusing kisses, Denz is struggling to separate business from the affairs of his heart. It sounds kind of cute though. Now we are moving into our February 2025 releases. We're starting off with Frenemies with Benefits by Cynthia Williams. You can't keep a sizzling little secret in a town like Peachtree Cove. For a place that just won an award for Best Small Town, Peachtree Cove sure has a big rumor mill. And Tracy Thompson is tired of being at the center of it. She's worked hard to make her bed and breakfast a success, only to have her soon-to-be ex's very public affair with her business partner result in a shocking pregnancy and the biggest scandal around. If the whole world's going to talk no matter what she does, maybe it's time that Tracy stopped trying to be perfect. Maybe she should start doing things for herself, like having a little fun. And Brian Nelson, the sexy nursery owner who supplies plants for all of her special events, is more than willing to help. Fresh out of a bad marriage, Brian is done with drama. Ever since high school, he's admired Tracy's strength and sass, and a friends with benefits deal sounds perfect. But now everyone in Peachtree Cove is talking, and they can all see what Brian and Tracy don't want to admit, even to themselves, that nothing complicates a simple arrangement quite like love. And we have the Love Lyric, which is the third and possibly final book in the Green Sisters series by Christina Forrest, and this one is following Iris. And she used to be a woman with a plan, but all of that changed after she met the love of her life at 24, got pregnant and married, and then became a widow and a single mother, all within the span of a year and a half. Now, after years of hustling, Iris is the director of partnerships at a beauty company and raising spunky 6-year-old Kala by herself. Kala? Despite her busy life, she still can't help but feel lonely. She needs to just catch her breath. And one night at her sister's wedding, when she steps outside just to do that, she sees a certain singer who takes her breath away. By all accounts, pop R&B singer Angel has it made. He's a successful musician and has just scored a brand ambassador deal with an emerging beauty company. But he's still not fulfilled. He's not producing songs he's passionate about, and there's a gaping hole in his love life. When he visits the Save Face Beauty office to kickstart his campaign, he's delighted to see Iris, his stylist sister, beautiful woman he secretly had a crush on for years. Despite their obvious attraction to each other, they must stay professional throughout the campaign tour, which doesn't quite pan out. And when it becomes clear that their lives aren't in sync, can they fall back in step to the same rhythm and beat? BK Borison is coming out with something outside of the Love Light series, and that is First Time Caller. And this is a Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Aiden Valentine has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's romance hotline, that's a bit of a problem. But when a young girl calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mom, the interview goes viral, thrusting Aiden and heartstrings into the limelight. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a good job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she thought. Maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing. Everyone wants Lucy to find her happy ending, even the handsome, temperamental man calling the shots. But when sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final call between the radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. Next is Mutual Interest by Olivia Wolfgang Smith. And this says, at the turn of the 20th century, Vivian is determined to flee her origins in Utica, New York, and avoid repeating her parents' dull, limited life. When she meets Oscar, a middle manager at a soap company, Vivian finds a partner she can guide to build the life she wants, not least because, more interested in men himself, Oscar will leave Vivian to tend to her own romances with women. But Vivian's plans require capital, so the two pair up with Squire Clancy, scion of an old American fortune. Together they found Clancy and Schmidt, a preeminent manufacturer of soap, perfume, and candles. When Oscar and Squire fall in love, the trio form a new kind of partnership. Vivian reaches the pinnacle of her power, building Clancy and Schmidt into an empire of personal care products while operating behind the image of both men. But exposure threatens, and all three partners are made aware of how much they have to lose. And this is a story of queer romance, empire, and power. And I also think it is historical as well. Then we have A Circle of Uncommon Witches by Paige Crutcher. And this says, Doreen is doomed to die of a broken heart if she can't break the centuries-old curse placed on her family. 300 years ago, Ambrose MacDonald, a powerful male witch, fell in love with a McCannon. And when the McCannon witches forbade him from seeing his love by secretly hiding her away, he retaliated by cursing the family and its future generations to never find love. But it wasn't without a cost. Now Ambrose is imprisoned by those same witches, trapped in a tempest, and doomed to outlive everyone he has ever loved. But Doreen isn't like the other McCannon witches. As the 13th generation of the McCannon line, Doreen is one of the most powerful witches in centuries, and one of the loneliest. So when she discovers where Ambrose has been trapped, she releases him to help her break the curse, once and for all. Ambrose agrees to help, but with his own motive, vengeance. He plans to use her as bait to enact his revenge on her family. Together, they enter a series of trials which will take them to a castle in Scotland, off a cliff, and into a world beyond their wildest dreams. As they work together, sparks start to fly, but soon Doreen must choose how far she is willing to go to break the curse, and what she's willing to sacrifice. I love a witchy story, and this sounds really good. And that is some February 2025 releases that I think you should know about. And I want to wrap this up by talking about a few sequels that will be coming out in the winter as well, that we are excited for and that we need to know about. Okay, so I want to start off with Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the third book. I think it might be the final book in this series, and I am so excited. The first book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, where we follow a Cambridge professor who is good at many things, and she is a genius scholar and meticulous researcher, but she's not exactly good with people. So we follow Emily as she goes to this small village, and she's trying to learn about fairy and the folklore behind it, and just gets up in some hijinks, and a lot of things happen. Okay, I'm sure most of us know what Emily Wilde is about by now. So yes, the third book will be coming out. Next, we have the sequel and finale to the Crimson Moth series, and that will be The Rebel Witch. And this is the follow-up to Heartless Hunter, and I'm sure everyone knows what Heartless Hunter is about as well, but I'll tell you a little bit. We are basically following a witch and a witch hunter, and they have this fake dating situation. Our main guy, Gideon, is trying to figure out who the Crimson Moth is, and Rune, who actually is the Crimson Moth, is trying to throw him off her scent and hide the fact that she is a witch and that she is the Crimson Moth. And a lot of things happened. This was very explosive, and I'm ready to see how we're gonna wrap this up because look, that cliffhanger was a cliffhanger, okay? And next we have my most anticipated of 2025, and that is Cursebound, the sequel to my beloved Feybound. And in Feybound, we follow Yrn, who is a warrior in the Elven army, and she ends up getting exiled from the Elven lands. And her sister, Little, decides that she is going to also exile herself because she doesn't want to be without her sister. And so they run across the Fey lands, and they didn't even know that this existed. So they are thrust into this world and just kind of have their minds blown, and everything that they have been taught is coming into question because it's not like they thought it was. And both of them end up finding relationships, and it's just a really good time. And I'm so excited to see where we go in Cursebound because I feel like Sarah El-Arifi really did her thing with the world building and the telling of the stories and histories in this world, and I need to find out more. Okay, I just need to know more. And the last sequel that I want to talk about is Lore of the Tides, which is follow up to Lore of the Wilds by Annalisa Brana. So in Lore of the Wilds, we follow Lore, who is trapped in a forced prison. She knows that any escape attempt is futile, and her scars are a testament to her past failures. But when her village is threatened, Lore makes a desperate deal with the Fey Lord. She will leave her home to catalog and organize an enchanted library that hasn't been touched in 1,000 years. And no Fae may enter the library, but there's a chance that a human might be able to breach the cursed doors. So she convinces him that she will risk her life for wealth, but really she's after the one thing the Fae covet above all, magic of her own. As Lore navigates the hostile world outside, she's forced to rely on two Fae males to survive. Two very different, very dangerous, very attractive Fae males. When undeniable chemistry ignites, she's not just in danger of losing her life, but her heart to the very creatures she can never trust. And this was so good. So I'm ready to see how things are going to follow up because this also kind of ended on a cliffhanger and with some information dropping that, was unexpected. So yes, those are a bunch of books that are coming out in December of 2024 and January and February of 2025 that I think you should know about. Like, the winter is coming with some bangers, and I'm super excited to, I don't know if I'll actually read all of these books, but they sounded really good to me, and I just thought everyone needed to know about them. So yeah, are any of these books on your radar? If so, let me know. And if you have some other books that are coming out in the winter that you think I should know about, go ahead and drop those in the comments section below. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and being with me on this YouTube journey. Be sure to check out my socials in the description box below to stay connected with me. And I hope you have the best day that you possibly can. And I will catch you in the next Bookmas video. Bye.